in the medical profession, you've got a number of different types of multi-level relationships that are key. So in a week and a half, I'm giving a major talk to the leadership development of the nurses at the Cleveland Clinic. And I do this as a regular thing with their physicians. One of the things that's very clear is that the doctor-patient relationship has a power differential. The doctor-nurse relationship has a power differential, maybe not the same, but it is a power differential. The nurse-patient also. So when we start to look in the medical field, medical allied professions, we're always dealing with a power difference. That introduces another level of either tension or anxiety or emotional arousal to what's going on. Therefore, what might happen between two peers or friends now gets amplified. It's analogous to, not exactly the same, but analogous to what happens in the difference between your interaction with a friend and your interaction with a spouse or partner. The emotional intensity goes up when you have, not, in that case, not necessarily a power differential, but you have more at stake. And in fact, one of the predictors of increased stress is when the activity or the event is more important to you. So in that case, people are walking into these relationships, the patient, the student, the subordinate, the person being coached, often are walking in a position where they're expecting to be told what to do and to be put into an obligatory situation. In many ways, they're walking in anticipating feeling guilty. Now, I'm overstating the case a little bit, but nobody really looks forward to a performance review, to the last part of it where the manager is going to say, okay, let's talk about what you can do next year that's going to be different. I mean, most of the time, if people really behaviorally acted out what they're feeling at that point, they'd say, oh, yes, good. You know, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So the dilemma is in the doctor-patient relationship in particular, where you have the largest power differential, the intensity of this arousal is very high. And Masoud Khawaja's findings have now helped to pinpoint in looking at what nature of that relationship and that interaction predicts treatment adherence among type 2 diabetics in a magnificent study he did with 375 patients, 5 hospitals, 25 different doctors. He found that although some of the the recent findings from the literature about qualities of doctor-patient relationships that help, empathy, shared decision-making, information exchange, etc., some of those worked. 4 out of the traditional 6 actually worked. 2 didn't, by the way. And he added a couple other things like diabetes knowledge that also worked. But they were all mediated by the patient's experience of the positive to negative emotional attractor in that relationship with the doctor, with the physician. And this was predicting treatment adherence as recorded from their caregiver. So it wasn't self-assessment. So you've got 3 different sources of data in this study. And it was, I mean, statistically, the results came out very strong and very clear, suggesting that while we're beginning to understand the importance of the doctor-patient relationship, we may still be focusing on the building blocks, but not the thing that really triggers the willingness of the patient to take his or her medications, to follow the dietary restrictions, to engage in the health-producing, wellness-producing activities that the physicians would like them to do. And our sense is that the more we could have physicians actually learn these things, the more they'll be sensitized. Now, they're human too. They're going to have bad empathy days. They're going to have days in which they're not in the mood, and some patients are particularly annoying. But if a person on the whole could build those relationships, we think the effect of treatment compliance will go from the traditional, now in terms of multiple studies in type 2 diabetes around the world is around 50%, which is atrocious. I mean, it makes this the single largest, I believe, according to the CDC, the single largest public health hazard in the world, trumping everything else. That is actionable. I mean, there's some things that we don't understand how to deal with.